Whether you've got exams coming up yourself, or you're a parent of someone who has, or a teacher, or you know, a friend or relative, or whoever it might be, exam season is almost upon us, and that means you, or probably someone you know, is going to be starting to get deep into revision or studying or whatever you might choose to call it. The big problem is kids in school today generally aren't taught what revision is or how to do it, but fear not. I wrote the book on this stuff. Literally, links down in the description. That's the only time I'll plug it today. So this is my guide for how to make a revision timetable. And because I'm a nerd, of course, I've made a spreadsheet about it. Anyone who's followed anything I've done on the internet for any amount of time will know just how much Kev loves a spreadsheet. And you can download your own copy of this spreadsheet as well. The link for that is also down in the description. tinyurl.com/lazyrevision. And it basically will take you step by step through my process for making a revision plan. It is based on the section of the book about revision planning. So the plan you come up with will be based around those principles. So what we're looking to get to is a revision timetable that allows you to do focused, short, 20-minute bursts of revisions on different subjects throughout the week. My idea of revision is absolutely not sitting there for 2 or 3 hours with a load of books in front of you reading. There's just no point in doing that, and there will be videos about that later on in the series. But for now, before we even get into the nitty-gritty of how to do the studying itself, we need to work out how much you need to do and when you need to do it. And that's where this spreadsheet comes in. So if you want to follow along with me, go and grab the download. As I say, the link for the download is in the description. Then you get your copy of this spreadsheet and we can work through it together. So, oh, and if you're doing that, you do need to enable macros. I've got some, you know, I was a computer science teacher. I've got some fancy stuff in here. It's not that fancy, but it gets the job done. So we start off with this page, and this page is more about helping you get into the right mindset to do the rest of the planning, because once we get beyond this page, in fact, I mean, we can flick through and show you, because I know you're flicking through yourself to have a look. We get into things like, well, how much time do you want to spend on it? How many hours a day do you want to do? And if you don't get firmly in your mind what you're trying to achieve at the outset, it can be quite difficult to allocate an appropriate amount of time. And by appropriate, I don't necessarily mean enough time. I mean getting that balance between the amount of work that you want to do, the amount of studying you want to do, and keeping yourself sane and focused on the upcoming exams, because there is such a thing as studying too much when it comes to your exams, and if you wear yourself out mentally, you're just not going to be at peak performance when it comes to exam times. And that's what this process is all about, getting you into the right mindset so you are at your absolute educational peak when it comes around to the time that you're doing exams. So we start on this first page, step-by-step instructions throughout. So firstly, and literally type an answer to this question in the box. Why are you revising? Now, different people have different reasons. For me, when I was 16 doing my GCSEs 20 years ago, in this section, I might, if I was being thoroughly honest, the reason I was revising is because my dad put an incentive in place where for every grade I was above my predicted grades, I would get a certain amount of cash, and I wanted to rinse him for enough money to go and buy, I guess it would have been a Dreamcast at the time. It might have been an N64, whatever the big console was around that time. I needed to get like 500 quid together. That was the biggest motivator I could possibly have had. For you, it might be because you want to get into a specific college or a specific sixth form course. You might even have a career in mind. You might just want to do it for a sense of personal achievement, but everybody has their own reasons for revising. If you've got absolutely no interest in passing your exams, chances are you're not watching this far into the video, and you're certainly not going to be putting together a revision plan. If that's you, I can't help make you motivated in this video. All I can do is help you target that motivation. So we need to work out what the motivation is. So why are you revising? For me, I don't know. Let me fill these in and I'll be back with you. There we go then. So these are my reasons for my generic 16-year-old Kev, because I'm a nerd, I've made these so that you can just tab through them nicely as well. So once you've typed in the top box, you can just hit tab to go down to the next one and move back through them. But it is really important that you do clarify your reasons for doing this before you embark on the next stages, the revision plan, where you're going to be setting aside a certain amount of time each day to study. Because if you're not fully clear on what you're studying for, then it's really, really hard to stick to a study plan that involves you doing 2 hours of work on a Sunday morning or whatever you might set for yourself. I'm not going to tell you have to do that, but if you're about to decide to do that, you better be sure that you're actually going to be able to get up and do it when the time comes. And the only way to do that is to make sure you fully understand what your motivations are. So for generic 16-year-old me, my reasons are: why am I revising? I want to get the best possible results in my GCSEs. Why do I want to pass my exams? To get into college so I can get a good job. I mean, I did say it was generic. And what will happen if I don't revise? I might fail and have to resit my exams next year to do what I want, and then I might get left behind by my friends who go off to college. So it's fairly standard stuff. It's fairly typical motivations and fears, but by having those written down and keeping them in our minds as we're planning the next stage, it just helps to keep us focused, and like I say, will help you actually get up and do it when you need to actually get up and do it. So now we can move off into stage one. So before we start is complete, now we're into stage one, and some of this detail will be filled in for you on the one that gets downloaded. So when it's downloaded, it will be set up like this. So it will already have today's date on there, and because we don't yet have the date of your first exam, none of this is populated properly, and it'll have taken your answers from the previous page and brought them over to this page. So again, you can just keep them focused in your mind. So today's date, as I'm recording this, is the 21st of March 2018. The date of my first exam, I don't know, let's say it's the 10th of May 2018, which the spreadsheet now tells me is 50 days away, 7 weeks away. So straight away, it all becomes a little bit more real. I have 50 days of revision before that first exam, which if 50 days is still too meaningless, we now know that's 7 weeks. This is a big one. How many hours per day am I willing to commit to revision? And that's an important thing to get out now. And I'm deliberately asking you that before I ask you how much you think you need to revise, before I'm asking you how many subjects you're doing, before I'm asking you how much you think you need to do on each of them, before any teachers have told you how many revision sessions you need to attend. I want you to decide for yourself realistically how much time every single day are you willing to commit towards passing your exams. For some people, it would be a struggle to get 20 minutes. And if you can get 20 minutes every day, that's better than nothing. So if that's genuinely all you think you're capable of doing, say 20 minutes. Some of you will be super motivated and might think you can do 2 hours a day, which is fantastic. If you can do 2 hours a day, that's loads of time to work with. What I would be wary of is making sure that you don't commit to something like 8 hours a day, because remember, you still need to go to school, you still need to sleep, you still need to have some social time, you still need to get some exercise, you still need to eat your meals. So what we're really looking for is that pocket of time. I mean, for me, it was the pocket of time between getting home from school and having my dinner. I'd get home from school about 3:30, my tea would be ready about 5:30. Realistically, I'd spend maybe an hour and a half of that time each day doing my revision, and that meant after I'd had my dinner, I didn't have to think about it anymore. It was just done. So let's say we'll keep that model in mind. Revision hours per day is 1.5. Again, 1.5 isn't the right answer, it's just my answer. So you put whatever your right answer is there, which then multiplies that by the number of days we've got before our first exam. And now we know that our total revision hours available to us are 75. We've got 75 hours of total revision time between now and that first exam. You then enter the number of subjects. I've put on their GCSEs, but if you're doing your A-levels, you can change that and say, well, actually, I'm doing 4 A-levels. If you're just doing a degree, one exam for a degree or something, you could say, I've got 1 exam, or you might have 3 exams. Just put in there how many subjects or how many exams that you're going to be doing. We'll leave it as 8, because a typical GCSE student is going to have 8 subjects that they're doing exams in the summer. And then again, it works down to what your average revision hours per subject is likely to be. So each subject is going to get 9 hours of revision time between now and your exams. And immediately we can see that actually the sooner you start this, the bigger that number is going to be. Because if we'd have started this back in January, for example, and given ourselves an extra 2 months, we can't change the start date, today's date, but we can change the future. So if we pushed it out to, we've actually got 4 days, 16 weeks until our exams. That same number of hours per day suddenly becomes 21 hours per subject. So by starting 2 months earlier, you get more than double the revision time. So the earlier you can start, the more time you're going to get in total. And that's important too, because we don't want to be stuck in a situation of last minute cramming. So before you move on from this page, have another look at that and think, right, 9 hours revision per subject. Is that enough? And only you will know the answer to that question. Do you think that's enough time to spend learning everything you've learned in the last 2 or 3 years on that course? If you don't think it is, then you have to go up here and see what you can adjust. Now, you probably can't adjust the number of subjects you're doing. You definitely can't adjust the date today, because it's today. You can't adjust when your exams are. You know where this is going. The only thing you can realistically adjust is the number of hours per day that you're going to commit to revision. That's why planning it in advance is so important, because sat here now 7 weeks before exams, you might think an hour and a half a day, I mean, that's a lot. That's more than my friends are doing. I'll just do half an hour a day for now. We'll pick it up as we get a little bit closer. But even looking at this, you'll see that on 8 subjects, an hour and a half a day, that's just 9 hours in total per subject. If you don't think that's enough, you need to increase these numbers. So 3 hours a day, for example, that's 19 hours per subject. Is that enough? Is that too much now? And seriously, sit here and play around with this screen until you're happy with the numbers. So I'm going to leave mine at an hour and a half, just for simplicity. But have a play around with this. If you did half an hour a day, that's 3 hours revision per subject between now and your exams. Suddenly you're seeing half an hour a day. That's really not very much revision at all, is it? So if we put it to 1.5, again, there's no right answer. Do what your right answer is. It needs to be something that you'll be motivated enough to stick to. If the most you can do is half an hour, leave it at half an hour. You've got to do something that you're actually going to follow. Then we move into stage 2 of the process, which again takes some of the data across from the previous screen. So we know we've got a total number of revision hours available is 75, and revision hours per subject on average is 9. Now we're not necessarily going to stick to that average, because we're going to play around with things a little bit on this screen. So firstly, you need to put your subjects in. I've just got some basic subjects in there to start us off. I mean, for a start, I've put 10 in. So we can lose 2 of them because we're only going to be doing 8. And obviously you can change these and put whatever subjects you've got. And then this is where you need to actually have your exam timetable to hand if you've got it already. If not, you can look this information up on the internet. You should have your exam timetable by now, really. And just enter your exam dates. So let's say that first exam on the 10th of May, and I don't know what the exam dates this year are, but you just put your exam dates for each subject, and it's going to tell you how long you've got until each exam. So we've got, I don't know, we might have one of our science exams might be in June. We've got loads of time for that one. This one's going to be 3rd of June, but then we get on to, and obviously you'll use the real dates. You won't just make it up the way I'm making it up. So straight away, we know that we've got those 8 subjects, and we've got a certain amount of time between now and each exam. So for stuff like science, we've got quite a lot of time to get ready for science. And now we can play around with the amount of revision that we're going to do. So we've already said we've got an average of 9 hours per subject. So you could start with 9 hours per subject as your baseline, and then fiddle with it from there. So based on our average of 9, we've actually still got another 3 bonus hours. So straight away we could say, well, actually I'm going to do 12 hours of maths. And now we can see at the top there, we're down to 0 hours left. So if we try and make that 10 hours, it's flashed red at the top and it's saying, yeah, you need to, if you get red up here, you now need to go back and adjust this to stop it being red. You need to get a little bit more time. But you can go around and play with this. And again, there's no right or wrong way to do this next stage. You might think, well, actually, I'm really good at ICT. I probably only need 3 hours of ICT because I want to spend 15 hours on computer science. That loses me an hour again. Well, I'll just do 8 hours on business then. Do I need 18 hours total across both sciences? I don't know that I do. I'll perhaps do 7.5 hours of each because I really struggle with my English language. So let's do 12 hours of English language. Business, let's take that down to 6 because I feel like maths is more important to the college course I want to do next year. And literally just play around with these numbers until you get a setup that you're happy with. Do you think you've dedicated the right amount of time to each subject? And once you're happy with that screen, then you can move on to the final page. And the final page is all about planning this out across the week. So we've got the 7 days of the week. We've got space for 6 sessions a day. Remember, these are 20-minute sessions. This isn't hour-long revision sessions. So I don't think anybody's going to be doing more than 2 hours a day. So 6 20-minute sessions comes to 2 hours. I think that's probably enough for most people. If you're going to go above that, you have to make some adjustments on your own spreadsheet or maybe with a pen and paper. But what you can do from here is now start putting your subjects in. So it will take whatever subjects you've typed in on that previous screen, it will put them into this drop down box for you so that you can then start putting subjects in. So let's say we'll do some maths there, and once you do that, it tells you on this timetable checker that we've got 1 session of maths, and based on the number that you put in on the previous screen, so the total revision hours you need, it tells you how many you should be targeting per week. So if we think we need 14 hours of maths revision, which we've identified there, that works out at 4 maths sessions per week. So we can put our maths sessions in and say, right, we're going to do maths on these days. So we've got our maths in. Maths is now on the timetable. And then we could do the same for our other subjects. So we need that 1 ICT session a week. We'll get that in. That's the only time we're going to touch ICT. Every Tuesday for 20 minutes, we'll do some ICT. My old colleagues would be furious. And then you just carry on adding all these in. I'm going to pause again for a second while I populate my timetable to show you what it looks like when it's finished. So I've populated my timetable with my subjects. You can see it all balances out. So I've got my sessions per week for each subject, and my target is met. I'm not over or under for anything. If I now put in an extra business session, for example, it tells me I'm now over for business. It's fine to be over, but you want to make sure that you're never under for any of your subjects. So we now know that on Mondays, every Monday between now and exams, I'm going to work on maths, English literature and business. Every Saturday I'm doing English language, business and computer science. You can hit this button here. If you've got a printer set up with your computer, you can hit, I don't have one, but I can hit that, and I mean, it's telling me it can't print because I don't have a printer. But if you have a printer connected and you hit that, it'll print that timetable off, so you can print it out, stick it in your diary or your fridge or your bedroom wall or wherever else you might need it. And also to add a final layer of planning to this, you can plan when you're going to do your sessions. So this varies according to whether you're at school or not at school, so whether it's a weekend or a holiday. So okay, on school days, I'm going to start session 1 at 4 o'clock. Session 2 is going to be at 4:30 p.m. and session 3 at 5 p.m. So that gives me the 20 minutes or the 22 minutes that we have in our revision sessions, which we'll get to in another video. It'll all be part of this playlist, or it is in the book, which is linked on there as well. Ooh, said I wouldn't. If you click on the book anywhere on the spreadsheet, it takes you to the Amazon page. Always organised. But at weekends or holidays, I'm actually going to get my revision done in the morning. So I'm going to do 10 and 10:30 for an hour, and then perhaps I'll do session 3 at 4 o'clock. And then you can print that out, and you've got this thing that you can now stick to. And if you stick to it, the end result will be that you revise each subject for that amount of hours, and you'll do a total revision of 75 hours between now and your exam. And that's better than doing none at all. And I tell you what, that's better than what at least 60 or 70% of the other of your fellow students will end up doing. Because if you start revising now, that's going to give you a head start, because a lot of people haven't, I assure you. But as you can see, the earlier you start, the better it's going to be. Because if you say we take that 75 hours as a benchmark, and we're not going to start until the week before the exam, so that would mean change that so that the exam's 7 days away. For us to get to 75 hours total revision now, we need to get to so we need to be doing like 11 hours of revision a day. If you start cramming the week before, if you've got 11 hours a day to revise, I suggest you probably haven't. So the earlier you start, the better, and hopefully this will go a long way towards helping you plan your own revision timetable. Obviously it's used there as a guide. You can amend this and adjust it however you want, do it on a pretty piece of paper, make it look good, but whatever you do, once you decide what you need to do, make sure you stick to it, because then that's going to give you the best chance possible of doing as well as you can in your upcoming exams. So good luck with your revision / study. Good luck with the exams themselves. If you have found this video and this tool useful, I would really appreciate it if you shared it around to friends and family and colleagues, or anyone you know who's got exams coming up. If you're a teacher, feel free to use this video, this tool, or whatever combination you want in your lessons. Distribute it out to your students. It's all available there for you to use. Even the book is available for free if you've got Kindle Unlimited. So it's all there. Get stuck in, and if you have any questions or any comments or anything you'd like me to cover in a future study skills video, we're going to start doing these videos every Wednesday here on the channel, looking at different elements of study skills. Let me know down in the comments, and I'll be sure to include the big topics in upcoming videos. If you have enjoyed that or benefited from it, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel for more stuff like this, plus all the other stuff we've got here as well. My daily vlog, various other videos here and there, conventions and stuff. There's a lot here. It's a very confused channel, but I'm sure you'll enjoy it if you stick around. Thank you very much for watching.